Now, it wasn't that long ago that I was reviewing the Mercedes A35 hatchback, and boy, what a car. I would love to upgrade to that. However, the one thing that I know will cross a lot of people's minds is this car. Yes, this is the Mercedes A45S. This is no hot hatch. This is what I would class as a hyper hatch, which can actually put some supercars to shame. And if you don't believe me, have a listen to this. God, it's so powerful. Okay, let's start with some stats. 421 horsepower, 500 newton meters, 0 to 62 miles an hour in less than 4 seconds. And yes, don't you worry, I will test that out in a minute, as this does have race start, or what's known as also launch control in some other car manufacturers. Yes, this might only be a 2 litre, it's no V8, but boy does it sound good, and the amount of power that this engine puts out is out of this world. Now, as I said, I'm a huge fan of the A35, but I wanted to test, as I mentioned, I want to test this car and see what the A45S is like to live with daily. Is it that much more extreme, or is it just a little bit? I mean, certainly from a price point of view, we'll get onto that in a minute, it is up there for a hatchback, but looks-wise, I absolutely love it. AMG specific grille. This car's actually about 15 millimeters lower than a standard A-Class, and it just looks incredible, even with the aerofoil spoiler at the back as well, diffuser as well. It really, really looks the part. Oh, of course, wider wheel arches as well. Now, the only annoying thing I found about this car is its comparison to the A35 in terms of its looks. They are so similar now. They never used to be like this. Mercedes actually kind of bridged the gap between the two. So I'm going to put them both on screen here for you to have a look at. Which one's which? Which one's the A35 and which one's the A45S? Did you get it right? That's what I mean. They are so similar now, and sometimes even I can't tell the difference. So here's a few key kind of takeaways for the A45S. Of course, as I mentioned, it's about 15 millimeters lower. Then you have red painted brake calipers. Keep an eye out for the sportier seats on the inside as well. And of course, those wider wheel arches. And let's not forget that sound. The sound on the A45S is just so much better than the A35. And the A35 sounds good, but the A45S just turns that dial up to 11. Now, it would be very rude of me not to include this, but as with a lot of Mercedes-AMGs, especially the 63s, this is no different. This is assembled by one person. So yes, the 45 falls under AMG's philosophy of one man, one engine. So if you didn't know this, the A35 is a production line engine, so it's assembled along the production line, whereas the 45 is hand built by, on this particular one, Pascal Scotch. The other cool thing that I found on the A45S as well is this strengthening bar across here, which just keeps the whole car a lot more kind of rigid because it's got so much power and you can just throw it into corners and it just goes exactly the way you want it to go. The handling's brilliant, but we'll touch on more of that in a bit. Now, the paint that I have here is spectral blue metallic, and I actually had a look at the specification for the A45 and I couldn't actually see that paint colour option anymore. So I'm presuming that it was a special run or like a special colour and now they've just stopped making it. However, if I was going to pick one, I think it's got to be high-tech silver metallic, because that, with what Mercedes called the night package, the black mirrors, black wheels, it really looks the part, and especially with those red painted brake calipers as well. It looks brilliant. Silver is definitely the colour for me. Now, when it comes to options, there aren't really any for this car, just because compared to other cars where you choose Premium or Premium Plus, in the UK that is, in this car they just give you everything. And the only things you can change really are adding the driving assistance package, so that's like adaptive cruise, choosing your paint colour and choosing your seat colour. Mercedes just give you everything else. It is Premium Plus as it is, which is one of the reasons why it's called Mercedes-AMG A45S and then Plus. They just kind of give you everything. And then we get on to the price, and this is a bit of a big one. There's no easy way for me to say this. It's just over £65,000. Yeah, I know. And to be fair, I know you get what is the equivalent of Premium Plus, and there's all that power and performance and the handling and all the strengthening across the whole chassis. So I get that, but just, yeah, it is just over £65,000 for an A-Class, which is insane. Would I have one? Of course I would, but because money is a factor in the real world, I'd probably lean more towards the A35 on that point alone, which I know a lot of people do, but we're testing in this review to see if the 45 is worth it for the extra money. So we'll get to that. But let's go through the boot and rear seats, front seats first before we go for a drive. Now, when it comes to the boot capacity is 370 litres, as you see here. Now, coming from an A-Class owner, sadly not an AMG, I know that folding the seats down can be slightly a pain for people with long legs like myself, just because the rear headrest hits the front seat. I'll show you in a second. But yeah, if you do fold the seats down, 1,210 litres it will go to, which is pretty good. Of course, we've got this here, which just unhooks and then comes out. And then, of course, you can fold the seats down. Usually do this from the other side, but you can do it on here as well. And then they can go down very much like that. Now, that's the problem that I have with my driving position, just because I have very, very long legs. So, bit of a me problem, so I have to move the front seat forward, so bear with me. And then you can see there the 1,210 litres, as you see here. I don't think there was any, yeah, there's no storage space under here at all. Got a tyre repair kit there, tyre compressor. But yeah, apart from that, you can fold the seats down 40, 20, 40. But yeah, that's pretty much it in the boot. So let's jump onto the rear seats very, very quickly, and then we'll jump on the front. In the rear, legroom is a squeeze. This is in part because of my long legs and driving position being 6'2", so yes, that seat is set up for my driving position. However, headroom is good. There's also a USB-C port for charging and decent storage for passengers. And cup holders are hidden in the centre armrest. Move to the front though, and this is where the design still holds up even to this day. Now, having reviewed the Mercedes A35 before, I will link that down below on the pop-up banner up above if you want to see that. That has very, very similar seats to my own car, apart from that they're all leather, whereas these are performance seats, and I've got to say, they look incredible. I've seen these before on the GLC 63S before, and C63s. It's nice to see them in an A45S. The only thing, they are a lot firmer. Now, I'm not completely against having a firm seat. For those of you who are subscribed, you'll see that I reviewed the AMG GT the other day. What a car, and I would have that in a heartbeat. But just like that car, it does have firmer seats. So my only recommendation is just to try it out. If you are considering this, model, make sure you try out these seats and just take it on a good long road trip just to make sure that they are suitable, because they are much, much firmer. But they have plenty of adjustment. They're all controlled. Of course, this just has all the options ticked. It has the memory package, which is the electric seats just over here, and that's obviously comfortably set up for my driving position, so brilliant on that front. Now, for the overall design in here, Mercedes introduced this design back in 2018, and I've said this in reviews before. I don't think even I realised how much of a trendsetter that this design was going to be. It still holds up to this day in 2025 going on 2026. And dominating the front here is, of course, these two screens, with both being 10.25 inches. And they're very subtly just sort of integrated into the dash, giving you all the information you need. Of course, multimedia system here, and your instrument cluster here. Then we have these like jet turbine inspired vents, which are illuminated with ambient lighting, so very nice. You can change the different colours on there. And then underneath this we have the climate control. These are all buttons, and very satisfying clicky buttons, which is always good. For those of you who weren't familiar of the Mercedes A-Class facelift, around about 2023, so a couple of years ago, they have removed the touchpad, so it's just this coin holder, I guess, here, and it's only touchscreen. And of course you can do it on the steering wheel as well. You can control it here, although I'd much rather just use the screen. Storage wise, of course, in here we have a little bit of space in there with two extra USB-C ports there, so that's always good. And then more storage in there with cup holders, another USB-C port, and wireless charging for compatible phones. And of course then glove box, Yep, that's a very decent size, so very similar to my car for that one. When it comes to the steering wheel is all touch, so this is just something to factor in. If you are not familiar with Mercedes, they have a lot of models with the steering wheel. Although I'm not a huge fan of it, looks-wise, it is incredible. It looks like really aggressive, very in keeping with the car. The only thing is they are all touch, so it's just something to bear in mind that you can accidentally swipe and move things up and down here. You can see these dots just over here. You can get different menus to go through. For the actual screen, there are loads of different things you can do on here. This being AMG, there's track pace on here if you're going to track the car. Then there's a super sport screen which shows you elements of fire as you accelerate, and assistance menu and service menus. And there's even a head-up display so I can see my speed over there. I kind of wish I picked that up for my car because a head-up display is pretty cool once you've had one. Now, when it comes to the multimedia system, the multimedia system in Mercedes is really, really good. It's called MBUX. I have this exact same version in my car, so very, very familiar with it. As you can see, the things you'll use the most, you've got sat nav there, phone, radio. Swipe across the page and you'll see media, and there's loads of other things on here that you can do. Now, if you're not a fan of using the inbuilt multimedia system, there is wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, which is good. But if you are going to use the inbuilt sat-nav and everything, as you can see here, very, very easy to use. It comes up on the top left there. Where do you want to go? Type in where you want to go. There's also a voice assistant in here as well, so you can summon it by saying, "Hey Mercedes," and then give it a command. Now, as we draw ever closer to taking this out on the road and letting you know how it drives, there's also some AMG performance menus in here as well. So I'm just going to pop the ignition on for that. So in here you can see the suspension being moved and the amount of steering you're putting in, and then there's things like your torque and newton meters and power and gearbox temperature and engine temperature. And yes, you can view all of this over here as well. And there's even an IWC clock on here as well. On top of this, you can even do track races, and this clearly indicates that you should do this on closed off tracks away from public traffic. And yeah, you can view your, you can view your 0 to 62s and your telemetry. So yeah, there's a lot on here of how quickly you move between the accelerator and brake pedal. So if you are going to track this car, there's a lot of data in here that can help you get your best lap times. But I appreciate not a lot of people are going to do that. So they're going to drive it on UK roads and just want to see how comfy it is. We'll get that in a minute. Speaking of, that's the tour. I think we've covered everything. Let's do a sound off. So we're going to start this in comfort first. Sounds good. Thing is, if you put it in Sport Plus or you do the exhaust button, it makes it just a little bit louder. It sounds good. And it sounds even better on the road. Okay, now unlike the A35, which has mild hybrid tech in it, this is literally just a 2-litre, but don't let that put you off. I can only describe it as like explosive acceleration. It is so brutally fast. It is amazing what they can get out of a 2-litre engine. The gearbox is rapid as well. It just knows what gear you're going to be in, and of course if you have it in comfort mode it's a lot more relaxed, a lot more kind of subdued, but then you put it in Sport Plus and it just turns into a weapon. Now compare this of course with the A35. The A35 is more of a tamer version, if you will, whereas this is just full on in your face. Now a good test that I always like to do is this slip road here, as some of you may have seen before. It's a common spot that I do reviews because, well, there's not much room to accelerate up to the speed limit for the road. Just get over that horrible cattle grid, and yeah, it's yeah, you can see there's barely any room at all, and no one really lets you out. So you do need a pretty powerful car. And spoiler, I don't think this car's got a problem getting up to speed. Oh look, an opening. 70, there we go. It's so quick. It sounds so good as well. I hope the microphones are picking up how good this car sounds. Like if you have an A35 right now and you just want a car that's a bit more brutal, this will deliver for sure. And the other day I was actually very fortunate enough to be at an AMG event, and there were loads of AMGs there, and then, typical British weather fashion, the heavens opened, it started raining, and I was at the very back keeping up with this convoy in the pouring rain in a GLA 45, which has a very, very similar setup to this, except just a bit higher off the ground, a little bit extra space on the inside. But it had no problem whatsoever keeping up with the convoy, of course, and of course as well how wet it was on the ground. I wish I had my cameras with me to demonstrate how grippy that car was. And this car is no different, it's just a lot lower down. The four-wheel drive system is brilliant. You point it where you want to go and it will get you there. Now there is drift mode as well in this, which I'm not going to do because obviously we're on a public road and it's been a long time since I've drifted a car, so I probably wouldn't be very good at it. Now I know what you're thinking. Can you daily this car? Is it too much? Now yes, when you do start this car in comfort mode, it is a little bit louder. I was very conscious of the neighbours this morning when I started the car up and turned it on and immediately drove away. So I didn't bother to wake them up. But I've got this in comfort mode now, and we're going to go on this road here, which is up to about a 40. And again, another cattle grid here, so we'll just get over this. Okay, so how firm is this car? It is a bit firmer than the A35, so I kind of alluded to it earlier at the very start of the video. This car is just dialed up to 11. It doesn't have to be dialed up to 11 like all the time. So I'm in comfort mode right now. I can feel that the road is definitely a lot firmer in this. The seats are a lot firmer, but could I live with this day to day? Yeah, I think I could. Could I live with this doing a 10-12 hour cruise somewhere, like a road trip? Probably that might start to get to you. I don't know, I'd probably have to test it out, but I'd give it a go. There are worse cars to do a road trip in. Personally, I think from a price point of view, I would have to lean more towards the A35. And performance-wise, the A35's got plenty of go, but just, I guess it's for the people who just want a little bit more power. Well, I said a little bit more power, it's a lot more power. But you can put this in comfort mode and it not completely destroy your back and your spine. Like, I know this road is quite bumpy, but I've got my seat set up comfortably. It's nice. Well, I promised you one thing. We were going to do a launch of this car, so let me find a quiet place where we can do this, and let's launch it. Alright, let's see if I remember how to do this. Oh, that is so fast. Couldn't prepare me for that. It's just such a weapon. I've said that a few times now, but it really, really is. What was my time? Oh, that was exactly 4 seconds. I wasn't quite quick enough. Well, there we go. 4 seconds is good. It's quoted at 3.9, but 4's good. Now we have pros and cons to go through in a minute, but there is one thing I just wanted to bring up about the drive, and that specifically is the road noise. There is quite a bit more road noise in here. I feel myself having to like talk a bit louder. That's the tyre noise, road noise. It is definitely louder in this, so just something to factor in if you are considering an A45 over a 35. 35 was definitely a little bit quieter. Again, does that put me off? No. But just something to factor in. So, as always, we need to go through those pros and cons, so let's find a safe place to pull over and talk about it. So guys, I've given it some thought about the pros and cons of the A45, and after using it for a little while, I think I've come to a decision. So let's start with the pros first. What I find absolutely amazing about this car is its everyday usability. It is a hatchback, which us Brits do love. We all love a hatchback, they're everywhere. But it's practical. It's not the biggest car in the world, but it is quite good for its size. And bundled with all of that is the supercar performance. It is brutally fast. Then of course you have all of the tech. I've got it all switched off at the moment because I've come to a stop. But yeah, all of the technology, multimedia systems, all the gadgets as well. This is basically a premium plus car with Burmester, so it's a high-end sound system that Mercedes have, head-up display, 360 camera, memory seats. All of it bundled together is absolutely brilliant. Now onto the cons. Price has to be that. I mean, yeah, over £60,000 for an A-Class is absolutely crazy. As I mentioned earlier, I appreciate the fact that there's a lot of high performance tech in here, the engine, research and development tech to make this car. I remember reading somewhere, I'm sure it was this engine, that the engineers were struggling to keep some element of the engine cool because it was just getting so hot. Thankfully, they obviously adapted certain components when they were designing it, you know, from the ground up, and they made it work to get 421 horsepower. But yeah, going back to the price, it is very, very expensive. Which brings me on to, of course, why I can see that people are in that conundrum when they're looking at an A35 and they see a used A45 maybe for about the same price. You're like, do I? And because of that price bracket, factually speaking, there are plenty of cars out there that will have a better build quality on the inside for the price. That's just fact. This is A-Class, and A-Class is very nice. I've often talked about it in replying to comments before with build quality of cars. A-Class is nice, but if you compare that to like a C-Class or an E-Class or a 5 Series or a 7 Series or an S-Class, it's not the same. You'd be fooled in thinking that it is. There's harsher plastics down here. Everything up here is quite nice. There's leather up here, but the further you go down, there's more plastics. And for the price at £60,000, some people might not want to spend that much money and have that sort of materials in the car. Having said that, again, it makes up for it with the performance. And then the last one is the firm ride, especially with these larger wheels. It is quite a firm ride. I personally would find it okay to live with, I think. I'll probably have to try one for a longer time and do some longer trips. But certainly for the time that I've been driving it, absolutely love it. It's brilliant. Having said that, come to think of it, I drove the GT, of course, and that had a very, very stiff ride, and that was absolutely fine. So, yeah, I think I'll be alright with an A45. But the question then stands, if I was picking between the two, would it be an A35 or an A45? I think I'm still going to stand by what I said years ago, and it would probably be the A35. I love the performance of this car. It is absolutely brilliant. It's amazing what Mercedes-Benz have put together. But for the price and the package, I would probably have to sway more towards the A35. But yes, there we go, guys. I think we will end it there. Let me know your thoughts down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? If you're watching this on the TV in your lounge, pull up your phone, load up the video, and have a chat with me in the comments. I will always try and reply to everyone where I can. And I love doing it. So, love to hear your thoughts. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Huge shout out to these guys here, Sandown Mercedes, because they helped supply this car so I can make this video. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Until next time. See you then.